Recording. Okay, we're live.
Okay, we're back. Okay, I don't know where I got cut off or lost, but I'm just going to share from my heart, which is that it pains me to restrict someone and to ask them to withhold their love from anybody else. Like, philosophically, that sucks for me, like almost nothing else, because it feels like it's incongruent with my value system. However, there is nothing in the world more expensive than going against my own emotional guidance system, which means when I do something that doesn't feel good, then it eats away at my own intuition, and I need to just really trust that if I'm not ready for someone to have, to play, then I just communicate with them, hey, I'm really not ready for you to do that. And they can ultimately do what they choose with that information, but I got to stay self-connected. I got to communicate my readiness, and then, they're going to deal with the consequences of that. But I don't ever pretend like, oh no, I'm this poly saint, and I want to be really generous, and I'm going to be okay with that, and I'm going to stretch and grow and deal with my jealousy. It's too expensive for me. It erodes my kind of, like, it erodes my connection to self, and that's my primary real relationship, is protecting me.
Hmm. I am choosing to believe that Kamala Devi is just too hot for my computer, and that's why it froze both times. But my computer is reassuring me. I've given it love. Everybody's back on. Everybody's hearing us. And, you know, it's kind of interesting. I mean, what's happened with the technology is actually a very good analogy of when we're in multiple relationship, whether it's sexual or just managing our children as well as our husband as well as our friends or our profession, is just following the flow, staying calm, cool, centered, and ideally having someone like Olivier who can jump in and save the day.
Mhm.
And I'm appreciating that so many of you have stayed with us and continue to keep coming back. And thank you, Kamala Devi, for continuing to share such wonderful wisdom amidst the tech issues and the needs of your son. And thank you for that.
So here's the here I really want to talk about my love for community. Like, that's what's most alive for me. And because most of the questions that have been popping up today are about alternative relationships, again, whether it's open, poly, swinger, I don't care. We're basically just saying, hey, let's talk about, like, brainstorm, communicate about something that's very taboo in our society. What it points to me, is the bigger need for community, which is a conscious, safe container to actually explore love of all forms, many different forms with many different people, platonic and otherwise. Um, and so, I'm curious if there's any kind of final questions about community, but I also want to talk about it because that's why we're going to Maui, is like, let's go into a vortex of conscious lovers who are willing to talk about and share wisdom that's not shared in the mainstream. It's almost like we're creating this um, field, this other kind of place of possibility where we can explore these ideas. And whatever kind of relationship you're in, even if you're single or celibate, that you can come to a place and saturate yourself with new possible ways of being. And my intention, and Scott and I do this really well, is we actually weave into the fibers of people's being, like, more potential, more permission, more possibility of how they can come to that vortex, drink of that deeply, and then go back into life feeling really fortified with what they need to create the love life of their dreams. That's my desire.
Um, I want to also address a little bit about community and what we're going to be doing in Maui. And while I do that, Kamala Devi, you'll see there's a good question from Elizabeth, which I think is pertinent and probably a burning question for a few people who live in maybe certain geographic areas. Over New Year's, Kamala Devi and I had the opportunity to run a retreat together close by to where I live at Harbin Hot Springs. We had about 45 people who came over 5 days. And we dedicated that time because it was New Year's. The retreat started on December 28th and ended on January 2nd. And during that period, as we brought in the new year, we really all committed to how we were going to manifest a new you, what each of us really wanted to commit to doing differently in 2014. And not just resolutions, but really embodying and doing deep practice of what it was like to really change fundamental patterns, fundamental parts of ourselves. And because we're close to a lot of the people who came, most everyone who came has reported they've really had huge shifts in their life. I certainly have, my roommates have, my closest friends and clients who were there have. And so we were thinking about what do we want to do next? And we thought, all right, let's take this and really carry it through by being in Maui, which is an especially powerful and magical place. And we're going to be on the jungle side of the island at a very special sacred retreat site. And to really cultivate a greater connection to Source, which is what we spoke about at the beginning of the call, and I really appreciate what Kamala Devi said about her relationship to Source. Cultivating a deeper connection to ourself, and then, of course, how can we have greater connections to each other? Really recognizing that there's this beautiful global tribe, this beautiful community that we all are a part of. Kamala Devi and I travel a lot. I travel a great deal, and everywhere I go, even places you wouldn't think, like Louisville, Kentucky, as an example, I meet amazing, progressive, new thought people who are exploring sustainable agriculture and polyamory and open relationship and raw food and yoga and all the different elements that our tribe is attracted to. And so we're going to be bringing many of those elements together during our time together in Maui. We're going to spend time indoors, outdoors, at the beach, in the bamboo jungle. We're going to have an eco-sex hike. We're going to do tantra and sacred sexuality, compassionate communication. We have a wide variety of experiences planned that will help us to connect more deeply to Source, to ourselves, and to each other. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Kamala Devi.
Yay! I guess the final invitation on that, because Scott and I have worked out a really rich schedule, like where we're in paradise, but we're also on the land, and we're eating together, and we're playing together, and sleeping together, and I like to say awakening together, because there will be deep transmissions in this experience. What I'm most wanting is for you to, having touched into that field with Scott and I through technology right now, for you to take that into your prayer or into your dreams and see if you're called to come with us, because I know it's coming up around the corner. It's like, hey, in a week and a half we're going to be heading out there, or 2 weeks, but so it's this Memorial Day weekend, and it might be like, hey, that's kind of crazy wisdom to just jump on a plane and get out there. But the degree of transmissions that we've been cultivating in the planning of this, I am absolutely certain that the people who come to it are there for a deep purpose. They're ready for a total change in all their relationships to Source and community. And a big reason that it's so profound is because I, as a coach and a teacher, and Scott as well, are committed to giving you practical tools and practices. So not just all these, energy upgrades, but how can you apply that in your life? And I want to model that right now. You took the time and energy to show up on this webinar with us, and I want to give you, a tool to go away with beyond the withholds practice, which I'm happy to share that with you. I think what's really valuable as a thread, and maybe Scott, you can think of one tool too. I'll give a kind of a giveaway here,
Okay.
And then you think of a tool. in all of the conversations that we had, all the questions were like, how do I do this? How do I manage or navigate this? And the answer is always know yourself and stay true to that. Hold on for a second. Michael, I can't handle any noise in the room. I appreciate it so much. I promise I'll be off in 5 minutes. Yay. So I've got 5 minutes left according to my household.
Another example of how we need to, follow that flow. It's just such a beautiful example. I'm really grateful for Michael and Devin playing a beautiful role in demonstrating the realities of balancing multiple relationships and multiple interests.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. This is a little unconventional as a homework assignment, but try it on, okay? Write yourself a personals ad, which is whether you're single or you have multiple relationships, to really be like, this is who I am, this is what I'm looking for, and this is what I want to do with them. So, I'm, in my example, bisexual Latina who's polyamorous, and lives by the beach, and, what I'm looking for is, and I talk about specific, description of, like, what matches with me. They have to be spiritual and willing to travel, and you really write that up so that we can do long chats over chai or on the beach or play parties, and what is it you want to do with the beloved. And whether that beloved is one person or a whole network of people, the clarity that comes from writing a personal ad, not only is it an exercise in creativity, but it's going to give you a stronger magnetism because you're clear on who you are and what you're looking for.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know that Kamala Devi needs to go be with her family. And I do have a practice I'd like to share, but it may go a little bit beyond the 5 minutes. So I'm thinking, Kamala Devi, do you want to say adios? And we will release you to your family, who I'm very grateful. I know we went over time. And
absolutely. As long as, and I'm excited, as long as you post what your assignment is on the Facebook wall, wherever we can get the link to this, because I just, for closure, want to hear. And then I'm really curious for the people that I got to touch base with. I'd love feedback both on Facebook and post it on my wall, not Scott's, just to no, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. See, I have a bratty side too. In closure, Scott, I love you so much, and it's so fun to co-create in multiple medias with you, and lots of love to everybody whose faces I didn't see. Mwah. We'll be in touch.
Love you. Thank you very much, Kamala Devi. Yay. She is a special one. So I'd like to close by giving a homework assignment and a practice. And the practice is actually my very favorite practice. Any of you who have attended my workshops probably know it because I teach it everywhere I go. It's simple, and it truly changed my life when I learned it about 7 years ago. I learned it when my wife was still alive, and we practiced it together. It doesn't require a person to practice with, by the way. So I'd like for all of you to think of a painful thought you've been running in your mind. And it can be a painful thought that you've been running about other people. He doesn't love me. She doesn't care. He'll never change. One of those types of thoughts. Or it might be a painful thought you've been running about yourself. I'm not lovable. I'll never be happy. I'll never find true love. I'll never make enough money. I'll never be thin enough. Any painful thought. Pick one. Now you're going to keep it to yourself, so you're going to pick a tough one. And I encourage all of you to really do this practice. It'll only take a couple minutes. And I invite you to close your eyes and run that painful thought through your mind 3 times. And notice if there's any place in your body where you feel physical discomfort as you run that thought through your mind. Painful thought 3 times. Notice what's going on in your body. After you've done that 3 times, you can slowly come back into the room with us. And I'd like to ask you now, if you have a piece of paper and a pen, to write down 2 short phrases. If you don't have paper and pen, you'll probably be able to at least memorize one of them. They're each about 5 words each. But if you have pen and paper, it's worth writing down. And I'm glad to see that even though Kamala Devi left, we still have the same number of attendees. So thank you for doing this practice. So either write down or choose one of these 2 phrases. And let me tell you what's going to happen. We're going to run those painful thoughts through our mind again. But we're going to pick one of these 2 phrases to put at the start of that thought. So the first phrase you might choose to use to put at the start of your thought is, I am telling myself that. I am telling myself that. So for example, if you chose a painful thought about something outside of yourself, another person or another situation, you might want to go with, I'm telling myself that he doesn't love me. I'm telling myself that she doesn't care. The other alternative phrase to use is, I am in my story that. I am in my story that. And again, if you chose a phrase, a thought, that was painful about yourself, I'm not young enough, I'm not wealthy enough, I'll never find true love, then it might be, I'm in my story, I'm not young enough. I'm in my story that I'll never find true love. Okay? So pick one of those 2 phrases, and again, we're going to close our eyes, but this time you're going to run the phrase and then the thought. The phrase and then the thought, the phrase and then the thought. And see what's going on in your consciousness and your body. See if there's a difference between the first time you did this and the time you're going to do it right now. Noticing what's going on in your body, if there's any differences. Slowly coming back into the room and hearing my voice. If any of you are willing to share a difference that you noticed, you can post it in the chat box. You don't have to tell us what your painful thought was, just what difference you noticed. And I'd love to hear from some of you. Now, because I teach this in my classes and workshops, I usually ask how many of you noticed a difference. Almost always, 80 to 90% of the people notice a significant difference. But there are some people who don't, and so I have them try it again. And Robert, I will answer your question in a moment. So that's a really wonderful way to notice the difference and just keep trying it. Now, what happened, for those of you who did notice a difference, and for the thousands of people that have noticed a difference when I have given this practice, is you've changed the neurological pathway of your brain. The first time you ran it, you probably ran it through your reptile brain, the survival center, which is very reactive. The second time, just by saying, I'm telling myself, or I'm in my story that, we actually now running the neurological pathway through the forebrain, the frontal lobes, which is where the observer part of our brain and the empathy center in the brain is. Rami says, I felt more relaxed with the second phase. Beth says, I had a tightening of my throat the first time only. Katrina says, the phrase seemed to take my painful thought out of the painful spot from my heart. The second time made my heart felt lighter. See, all of you are noticing a difference, and that's because when we're reactive, and life happens, and when we're running painful thoughts, when we're running projections and judgments, and we run it through our reptile brain, which is this ancient part of us, the reptile brain is the very first thing formed after conception. It's the oldest part of your body. Anthropologically, it's the oldest part of the human body, going back biologically and also in terms of from your conception. So it's ancient. We are as a human species, learning to move from reptile brain reactivity to frontal lobe forebrain responsiveness. It's a big part of what Kamala Devi and I teach at our classes and workshops. We'll be practicing it while we're in Maui, and so that's my gift to you as a practice. And my homework assignment for all of you is to differentiate. Take some of the things, do this practice a few times, and notice the differences when you just run a painful thought and then when you add the phrase, so that you can start learning to notice when we're running a painful thought, a judgment, a projection, a story, and recognize I'm in my story. One thing I want to mention, by the way, is that I am in my story. That doesn't mean it's a fiction. Sometimes people will say, well, no, it's not just a story. I really lost my job, or he really did break up with me. When we say I'm in my story, it doesn't mean it's fictional, but it means it's something that happened in the past that's still running us. It's still impacting us, and we want to learn how to not focus on the deficiency in our life, not to focus on the painful stories from the past, but rather to be fully present to what's happening in present time. Now, in present time, we might be feeling sad, we might be feeling hurt and angry, and we want to acknowledge those feelings. And then we're going to learn how to pivot into genuinely paying closer attention to our present time experience and then the beauty of our longing. And that's, again, a big part that we'll be teaching. We teach at all of our retreats. We will post on my Facebook page, on Kamala Devi's Facebook page, and also on our webinar page. You're going to see the information. In fact, Olivier is posting right now, thank you so much, Olivier, how to register for our retreat. We're going to be in Maui. It's very inexpensive. We're keeping it as cost affordable as possible. And the difference in the prices is you can come for the whole retreat, which is $495, but we're going to give a special discount. If any of you register in the next 36 hours, we're going to give you a code, and I'll post the code. The code is going to be ISTA, ISTA, and if you post the code ISTA in the hidden box, you go to the link that Olivier just gave us, go to that link, and you'll see it'll say register now, click register now, and then if you you'll go to the link, scroll down, click register now, and you will then see where, if you scroll down again, where it says promo code. And if you put in the promo code of ISTA and hit apply, that's going to give you a $100 discount. You're going to notice a really nice discount on whether you want to get the full gold package, or if you want to get the or just the deposit, and you can put down a $100 deposit now, and you can get the full package, everything you need for 4 days, other than lodging. Lodging is separate, for $395. And lodging is as inexpensive as $50 a night. We've got lots of different lodging options. We're all going to be staying in the same general area on the jungle side of Maui. And if you've got questions, you are welcome to send your questions to info@love questions to that email. We will get back to you and answer your questions. I haven't had a chance to look at the chat room because I've been busy chatting, but it looks like you've all been chatting, and thank you very much for all doing that practice. And I am going to kind of begin to say goodbye. See that 15 of you are still here. I'm kind of grateful that only one person left after Kamala Devi left. And we hope to see you in Maui. If it doesn't work for you to come to Maui, there is another alternative. The weekend after our retreat in Maui, my beloved, my lover and partner, who's an amazing woman named Emily, Emily will be in Maui with Kamala Devi and I, as well as other teachers. She and I are leading another retreat on the Big Island of Hawaii. We'll be in a place called Waimea. And Waimea is really, really special. And we're doing a 3-day retreat there. And I'm going to give you the Facebook event page where you can go and get more information. And in a moment, I'll also give you the link to where you can register. That'll be a 3-day retreat. Again, there's lodging, very inexpensive, $50 a night and up, close by. And we will be posting the daily schedule and agenda in the next 24 hours. We're still kind of putting it together. Honestly, because we're doing a lot of outdoor exercises, Maui, you always want to pay attention to the weather. So there is the possibility that we may, if there was a big storm, it's a good time for weather. We should be okay on weather, but if there's a big storm, we may shift and go to the dry side of the island. So there is always that kind of flexibility. I'm going to kind of take a moment to just see if there are any questions. My audio cut out. So questions to info@lovecoachacademy. Questions, and we will get back to you. And that's info at Love Coach Academy. info at Love Coach Academy. Teresa, thank you for your support. It was great to have you be on board. I look forward to connecting with you sooner than later. And hopefully we'll see you in Maui or the Big Island. And if some of you really want to come to one of our retreats, but you just can't come to one of those, still write to me and let me know where you are geographically located, and we'll put you into our email list because we will be doing more retreats in California. And probably in the fall, we're going to be doing retreats on the East Coast and possibly in Europe in October. I want to say thank you very much. Namaste. Now I must go. I'm hungry. It's time for dinner. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I am going to stop the broadcast. The chat room will remain open for a little while. Good night, everybody.